you all received one of these on your way in. We call this our weekly guide. We don't do bulletins anymore. We are planning to carry worship out throughout the rest of this week, and this will help you confirm what we're talking about this morning and worship God throughout the rest of the week. So I hope you have one of these, and by all means, feel free to take notes all over. Holy Week. We started last week with a parade and palms, and the children and everyone else singing Hosanna. Hosanna in the highest. Hosanna means save us. Hosanna, save us. And the next day we found Jesus in the temple, cleansing the temple of money changers. And those actions on Palm Sunday and Holy Monday fulfilled the Scriptures, which was the first item on Jesus' bucket list, or rather God's bucket list for Jesus, fulfilling the Scriptures. And on Tuesday and Wednesday, Jesus was in the temple, teaching and preaching the Word of God, and, oh, by the way, healing people as well. Number 2 on God's bucket list for Jesus. On Thursday, Jesus spent most of the day preparing his disciples for what was about to happen. Number 3 on the bucket list. And he did this with prayer and with foot washing and with a ritual that we have come to call communion, which was to encourage his disciples for the 3 days he knew were coming, and to give them something to remember him by. Number 4 on his bucket list was to suffer and die. Disciples don't skip Good Friday. And so he did. That's the Passover in the Jewish community. So Jesus was placed in a tomb, wrapped up in a cloth by a fellow named Joseph of Arimathea. And as is the custom with the Passover, they went to their homes. Actually, they ran to a place of hiding. Sunday, the day after the Jewish Sabbath, when they were allowed to come out, when they were allowed to gather the body and prepare it for burial, the women, it's always the women, isn't it? The women had the courage to go to that tomb and look. And the tomb was empty. The tomb was empty. And they ran and told some of the disciples who ran and saw it as well. And they couldn't believe it. And they couldn't believe it. And Holy Week ended. They were frightened. They were surprised. They were shocked. And then they met the risen light of the world.
And what could have been the end of the story is just the beginning of the story. I'm reading from the Message this morning by Eugene Peterson, but you will recognize the words. First this, God created the heavens and the earth, all you see, and all you don't see. Earth was a soup of nothingness, a bottomless emptiness, an inky blackness. God's Spirit brooded like a bird above the watery abyss. God spoke, light, and light appeared. God saw that the light was good, and he separated it from the dark. God named the light day, and he named the dark night. It was evening, it was morning, day one. In the beginning, before, always. Before always, God. God spoke, and there was creation. God's voice spoke. It's an action. God speaks, and there's a result. And it's not the end of the story, because the Word was first. The Word was present to God. God present to the Word. The Word was God, in readiness for God from day one. Everything was created through him. Nothing, not one thing, came into being without God. What came into existence was life, and the life was the light to live by. The light blazed out of the darkness, and the darkness could not put it out. The Word was with God. God spoke Jesus to us. The voice, it's an action. God speaks Jesus. Jesus is the message to humankind. God spoke light, and God spoke Jesus as salvation. Before, darkness, the abyss. God's Spirit hovers over the darkness, the chaos, and when light is spoken, order is restored. Think about your life when it's in darkness. It's a bit chaotic. Can't find your way. When you turn on the light, you're able to establish some kind of order. See where you're going. The light guides the path. It's been said that the greatest fear and the oldest fear in the world is the fear of darkness. Sin and evil, trickery, cheating, the things we call bad, hide under the veil of darkness. When you turn on the light, the truth is revealed. Can't hide anything in the light. I wonder, do we fear darkness? Or do we fear light? The light reveals everything. You don't really see yourself until you see who you are through Jesus' eyes. So are you afraid of the dark? Or are you afraid of the light?
The Big Bang explained. Let's continue reading in John 1. The light was the real thing. Every person entering life he brings, that would be Jesus, into light. He was in the world, and the world was there through him. And yet, the world didn't even notice. He came to his own people, but they didn't want him. But whoever did want him, who believed he was who he claimed, and would do what he said, he made to be their true selves, their child of God's selves. These are the God begotten. Go back to verse 10 and 11 one more time. He came to his own people, but they didn't want him. But whoever did want him, who believed he was who he claimed to be and would do what he said, he made to be their true selves, their child of God selves. There's a clear choice here for us to make. We can reject this Jesus that God spoke, or we can follow. Jesus never told us to worship him. Jesus always told us to follow him. Before we choose, let's read on. The Word became flesh and blood and moved into the neighborhood. Yes, even into Sanborn. We saw the glory with our own eyes. The one-of-a-kind glory, like Father, like Son, generous inside and out. True from start to finish. True from start to finish. We all live off his generous bounty. Gift after gift after gift. We got the basics from Moses. And then this exuberant giving and receiving. This endless knowing and understanding. All this came through Jesus, the Messiah. Jesus the Christ. Christ is not Jesus' last name. Christ is Messiah. Jesus the Messiah. This endless knowing and understanding. No one has ever seen God, not so much as a glimpse. This one-of-a-kind God expression, who exists at the very heart of the Father, has made him plain as day. And so there's our choice. Our choice is between life and light, darkness and death. Our choice is between grace and truth, and lies and wrath. That's our choice. Choose well.
So Jesus lived and died and lived again so that we would have a choice. To choose a Christless life is to choose darkness. Darkness is sometimes ignorance. We hide that in the dark. We don't want to submit. We don't want to give it up to God. We still want to be in control, and we want to be in control. We've tried that. For centuries we tried that. We tried the checklist, we tried the rules, we tried the tradition, we tried the ritual, and that all kind of helped keep our life semi-ordered. But it didn't change our heart. It didn't change our heart. And Jesus was beaten beaten down, persecuted, and sometimes life-giving love feels like death. So we can choose. We can choose darkness, we can choose light, we can choose death, or we can choose to be all that God created us to be. Full of love, joy, light to the world, salt and yeast. We can choose to be fully human, like Jesus.
Can I start now?